Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to our Black History program for the month of February. My name is Eugene Owens. I'm the adult librarian at Exposition Park Library in South LA. And we're just really excited to learn more about house music and how it came from Chicago to LA. And I really appreciate everyone in the audience for attending. Please feel free to participate in the chat on YouTube Live or Facebook Live with comments and questions, and we'll either get to them while we're talking or towards at the end at our Q&A portion. And I'd like to introduce our guests, Chevez Frazier and Don Comer. Chevez Frazier is a co-founder and producer of the long-running SoulNic House Music Festival, and he's going to tell us a story of the journey of how Chicago house music came to LA and how he grew alongside many others, a thriving community here over the years. Don Comer is a longtime friend and colleague who works in the city of LA, and I'm so happy that she introduced me to Chevez and let me into a part of her life, which is Chicago house music, and connected me with the scene so I could have Chevez here and we could all learn more about it. So, could Chevez and Don, Chevez first, tell us a little bit about where you come from and how you came to be in LA?
I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised on the South Side. Moved to Los Angeles in 2004.
And I'm also originally from Chicago, grew up on the South Side and also the western suburbs. And I moved to Los Angeles in 1998.
Okay, that is really interesting. I've been in LA since 2009. I wanted to start off with a little bit about music because that's where we're going with this program. And I had a kind of a fun question. I thought of it because of the famous dance song, How the Last Night a DJ Saved My Life. And I was wondering if one or both of you could contribute maybe an anecdote or a story about some important musical moment from your youth where you just sort of were like, that is it. That is so important to me. This is going to be really important in my life.
For me, this is a very interesting story. And I know Don will find this funny, but I had a super radio, and I don't know if you remember or are familiar with super radios are, but they were the radios that had the one big speaker. And then I would go around the house trying to get certain radio frequencies. So I'm trying to get certain radio stations. And I ended up coming across this one radio station, and like the music was different. It was a little bit more different than music that I've heard before. So I kind of just listened to this one song, and then this other song comes on, and this guy is yelling, "Can you feel it?" And I'm like, "What is this?" And then he yells it again, and then this track comes on, and it was a song named "Can You Feel It" by either some people say Mr. Fingers or Fingers Inc. And I literally found myself hopping around my room listening to this song. Had no idea, like it just made me start just jumping around. And from that point on I think that was a Sunday, and I feel like the radio station was KKC. I think it was Pink House. And I look forward to listening to that music every week from that point on. So that was my introduction to house music.
I love that. So my dad was always playing music in the house. And so I grew up dancing around the house just to whatever he would play. So it started early, probably with jazz. He's a big jazz man. But I would say in grade school, so grammar school or grade school, depending on where you're from and what you say. But
right. Elementary school
here in LA. I just remember, I don't really remember the first time I heard house music, but my cousin was a DJ. And so I always hung out with him. He actually went to school high school where Chevez went, but many years before Chevez was there at Lucas South.
Okay.
But he and his friends were just spinning, and we just wanted to dance to that music that he was playing. So I just remember my 8th grade year, my cousin was the DJ for all of our graduation parties, all of my graduation party and all my friends' graduation parties. And it just became a cycle.
That's great. That's really great. It reminds me of some similar stories in my own youth that more involve Bruce Springsteen than anything else.
Oh, nice. The boss.
Right?
The boss.
I
That's
just heard a
correct.
good podcast with him and President Obama. So if you haven't heard that, it's a really good podcast.
Thanks. I really like those stories. I know that that's a really human element that we all share as our, introductions to music, in our early youth. And I really love those kind of anecdotes because it really connects us all, through music. My next question will be more about for Chavez, but I think Don can jump in at some point. Is how did you? I know that you arrived in LA and there was a really awesome, charismatic kind of connections that you made out here when you run into people. Like, how did your house music thing start in LA? And maybe you could talk about that and how that all got off, and then Don could sort of interject at a certain point with like how she discovered you and how you guys connected.
Okay, so so when I moved here in 2004, I started hearing, because all I listened to was house when I first got out here. I had my CD player, and I had all these different CDs from different DJs in Chicago, and I would hear from people how people didn't really like house out here. And I want to say within my first few weeks of being out here, I went to a party at it was held at a restaurant in Beverly Hills. And when I walked in, what I heard the DJ playing was a Chicago house music artist. And I'm not saying like just a song that we may have listened to at the parties in Chicago, but it was actually someone like Marshall Jefferson, or it was a Chicago house music artist. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, hey, hold on. I thought they said people didn't like house out here. So I'm like, let me go and find out who this DJ is. Go to the back. The DJ is someone that I went to high school with, Kendrick Drac Muse. So mind you, this is 2004. I have not seen Drac since we graduated in 92. So he's looking at me like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here? So from that point on, we exchanged information, and we kept in touch with each other. What he ended up doing was telling me about a party that he was going to DJ, and the person's party it was someone that was from Chicago. His name is DeLeon. So I ended up going to that birthday party and met DeLeon for the first time, DeLeon Howard III. Fast forward, DeLeon was throwing parties out here. I believe it was him and his partner Randall were throwing parties out here. And DeLeon threw a party, like it was Sundays when we watched the Bears games. He threw a party at the 3rd Street Promenade at this restaurant on the 2nd floor of the restaurant. And in between, during the commercial break and during halftime, he had a DJ who would play music, in between during the commercials and at halftime. Well, by the time we got to halftime, like this DJ was playing music well enough we wanted to dance. Like we literally wanted to dance, move tables and everything. So DeLeon went to find out from the owners if it would be okay to move the tables so we could kind of dance upstairs. Fast forward, I don't even remember how many years passed by. Maybe 3 or 4 years passed by. And Drac ends up calling me up, and we have a discussion about things. And he was saying how he kind of wanted to, he wanted an outlet. He was working in Universal Music Group. At the same time, he was DJing at parties where he really wasn't playing the music that he loved. He was playing stuff that he liked but didn't love. So we decided to throw a party. At that time, I didn't know if he knew Derek Wise, who was the DJ at the 3rd Street Promenade. So, I asked Drac, I said, hey, do you know Derek? And he was like, no. So I go and search for Derek's card because I got his card that day. And I found his card and I called him up and I said, hey, man, you probably don't remember me, but, I was at the party on 3rd Street Promenade a few years ago. I know this sounds pretty weird, but I wanted to meet up with you to talk about something. So he says, okay. So me and Drac go and meet up with him. What is I can't remember the name of the spot. I think it's Grand Star in Chinatown. And, we walk in.
Jazz Club.
Yes. We walk in, introduce him to, we introduce ourselves. And then, me and Drac are like, hey, man, we want to throw a party. And before we can even get into the description, Derek was like, I'm in. Like, we didn't even have to really get it all out. And since DeLeon was kind of the tie that bind, it was automatic that it was going to be me, Derek, Drac, and DeLeon. And what we ended up doing was the first party, how we even got the venue was interesting too. So that night I met with Drac. We decided to just drive around. And while we were talking, we happened upon this venue. I think it was called it was called Play at the time. And we just happened to go in, found out that they were going to be shutting down in a few weeks to do renovations. So we asked the general manager if we could have the last Friday before they closed. And he agreed to it. So then we decided to name the party A Taste of Chicago. So that way, people kind of knew that, it's predominantly Chicago group putting together the party. And that was our first party, and it was packed. People had a great time. And the consensus, people kept saying, like, you guys you can't just do this one, you got to keep it going.
Can I interrupt you real quick? I had a question of interest about I'm assuming this is back before social media was happening.
It was right around that time. This was 2009. So it was social media was, it was going.
So like you got your word out like through word of mouth. Did you make flyers?
Flyers?
Like all that, you kind of full court press of like all
word. It was predominantly word of mouth and flyers during that time. Social media, we did put it up on social media, but the more people were hearing about it by word of mouth and flyers.
That's great.
And Chevez, were those the Thursday night parties? Like, that's what I remember most.
So what happened was we did that one party, A Taste of Chicago, and then we did A Taste of Chicago 2 at National. And then we did a few more at Hollywood Canteen. What ended up happening was A Ski, who's a DJ and a phenomenal music aficionado, he had a Thursday night at what's the name of it again? Little Temple.
Yeah.
He had a weekly Thursday night event at Little Temple. And he said, hey man, I want you guys to come and spin at one of my Thursday nights. So he opened it up and we had a Thursday night with him for about 6 months.
Right.
And that's when things really kind of took off for us.
Right.
Little Temple. Yeah.
I remember that because I used to travel a lot for work, but I would often come back on Thursdays. And I was still, even though I'd been in LA since 98, I was still trying to understand the social scene. And on the weekends, it seemed a little quiet, but I did learn that Thursday nights were the nights to go out. So I just remember that Thursday night party and we were trying to leave, but Derek kept playing hits that we hadn't heard since high school.
Right.
We couldn't believe that this was happening in LA. So yeah, that's almost like that's 9 years after I had been here. And so, yeah, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable that we were hearing all this music that we really knew in LA.
Yeah. And the thing is, LA has a strong house scene. It had one before we got here. Marcus Wyatt held LA down and continues to hold LA down with Deep. And then Afro Rob McDaniel with West Coast Soul Events. Those two have been like really holding down the house music scene in LA. And it's just with us, there was a certain sound that we had in Chicago that was just kind of specific to us. So, like Don said, you'll hear certain songs here, but there are certain songs that you just wouldn't hear here from Chicago.
That's really awesome. I remember you telling me about some of these origination stories of how the events got started and how it just seemed like you hit a niche like early on. Like as you said, the first event was sold out, and that means that you just saw a need, something that was an opening that you could fill with your creativity and your music and your event organizing. And I just think that's really exciting when you hit the lightning bolt, at the right time, the right place, and then you brought, I know that it's been ongoing for how many years ago now? Like at least.
So 2009 was basically when we had the run of doing events, right? And then we kind of got burnt out because none of us were doing this full time. Everybody had full-time jobs, careers, families, and this literally started off as just kind of a hobby. It didn't start off as being this thing. And then within the house music scene, or at least, our particular house music scene, venues are looking for people that are going to support the bar. For us, we come out to dance. Within our house music community, people aren't doing a lot of drinking. Like literally, they're coming out to enjoy the music and dance. So when you have venues that have bar guarantees and you're not hitting those bar guarantees, then you have to find another venue. So that's why it was like Play. We did well at Play, but then we needed a bigger space. We went to National, which then was too big. And then, like I said, we found a pretty comfortable place in Hollywood Canteen. Parking over there was terrible. And then we end up at Little Temple. In Little Temple, like I said, we were there for 6 months. And then, it just kind of burned out because, once again, none of us had the capacity to really pour a lot of our time into it. So SoulNic ended up being birthed in 2010.
And that was amazing because I'll just share a little bit, and Chavez, please chime in. But from someone just attending, that was another thing that was like home because I hadn't attended a lot of outdoor festivals in LA in a park.
Yeah.
And for us at home, that's normal.
Yeah.
In the summer, you go to the Forest Preserve and there's music doing,
right.
Even by our Museum of Science and Industry, there's a big outside area where you're just outside and in the park and there's music, there's food. And we looked around. I just remember looking around at that first one, and friends that I knew from the East Coast were there. And we all said, we don't feel like we're in LA. It was at Griffith Park. And so we all it was a beautiful venue and just, a great, something that we were very happy was happening. So just so much love for Chavez and team for putting that together. I know we don't know everything that happened behind the scene because I just remember your story, Chavez, of like this was kind of new for LA and the folks you were working with to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was to Don's point. So because the weather is pretty stable here in Los Angeles for the most part, when you're in a cold weather environment where things shut down because of the cold, as soon as the weather, I'm talking the first weekend that it's warm, everyone is at the park. Everyone is at the Forest Preserve or at the park. You're out there with your group, with your friends. You guys are barbecuing. You have your radios out there. Everyone's out there. So for us, we wanted to, we just was like, it would be cool to bring something out here that's similar to, how we experience things at home. So we were like, let's do something at the park. And that's really how it was. It was really just that simple. Like, let's just do something at the park. had no idea it was going to become what it became. You know, we just wanted to just get a sound system, get the space, get the permits, do all that stuff, and just invite our friends and family. You know, and that's what happened. And in that first year, you know, we had like somewhere between 250, 300 people. The interesting thing about that day, DeLeon came up to me and he says, "Hey man, Wayne Williams is here." And I'm like, Wayne Williams isn't here. Why would Wayne Williams be here? Now, Wayne Williams is the founder of the Chosen Few DJs and the Chosen Few Picnic in Chicago, which is basically like the grandfather of these house music festivals. I mean, they have like 30,000 people out there. It's been going, I want to say, for like 30 years strong in Chicago now. I mean, it's huge. So our thought was never anything like that, you know, but it was like, why? What is he? So I see this guy off in the distance and I'm like, wait a minute, that actually looks like Wayne Williams. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing here? And I'm like, but not like that though. I'm like, I'm not saying it like that, but I'm like, what are you? And he said that he was in town I think he was in town for some Grammy event. And someone he knew told him that there were some guys throwing a picnic out here similar to his picnic. And he called around and found out where it was and showed up. Interesting enough, a few of the things that he mentioned that would happen, I thought he was crazy. I was like, whatever, dude. He's telling me things like, oh, you know, it's going to get to a point where you're going to get too big for the venue, or it's going to get to accommodate the people to come out. He was just giving me all these things, and I'm like, dude, it's not even that serious. Like, this is just a simple little picnic, bro. What are you talking about? And he mentioned, like, I think he said what he was looking at in our first year was like either it was like the third or the fourth or the fifth year that they had with Chosen Few. So I still, you know, I didn't take it seriously because it wasn't anything big. And then the second year he came out and he DJ'd for us. And, you know, and it just kept growing. You know, second year we had like 500 people. The third year was when we experienced the social media impact. So the third year, we ended up with like 2,500 people. And it was insane because after about 1:00, people just started pouring in. And it was people that I had never seen before. And so I'm just trying to figure out where all these people coming from. And when I started asking people were saying either, you know, they had friends that were text messaging them or they saw it on Twitter or, you know, so it was all crazy to me at that time. I'm like,
Wasn't it true? Sorry, wasn't it true? I remember we talked about this story before when we were getting ready for this program with Mr. Williams, and a lot of what he said was prophetic in the sense that it came true. Like,
yeah.
even though you were kind of like, nah, but like he was kind of like telling, basically, as far as I remember, everything that he said happened to you, and I just think that's a great moment of connection from predecessors, like sharing knowledge with you. You know, because my own experience in kind of the pop music scene and dance music and so on is some people are like really cagey and they're like, I don't want to share my knowledge with you because you might be competition, you know. And I just really love the flip side of that, where people are like wanting to help you and looking out for you and let you know what they've learned and passing it on to you. Could you tell us a little bit? I mean, on that kind of note, could you tell us a little bit about, like, I don't know, maybe a bad night or just something what you learned from like some of your more like not less positive experiences, because I know that with doing events, there's sort of like good nights and not so good nights.
Less positive. Hey, whenever someone brings up a less positive, my thing, our very first, so we ended up doing New Year's Eve party at Castle Ivar, which is an actual castle, 5 levels. And this is just not good. But we didn't have a lot of ticket sales. even leading up to the day before, right? So I only had one shuttle, and I didn't try to get any additional shuttles because the ticket sales was low. Um, on the day of the event, ticket sales just started blowing up, and I'm not thinking anything of it. I called to try to get another shuttle. Shuttles, of course, weren't available. They were all booked. So this shuttle was like 20, 25 passengers or something like that. So shuttle driver comes to the venue, he introduces himself. He heads down to pick up the first group of people. And when the first group of people start coming up, he comes up with them. And he asked me, he says, "Hey man," he said, "Hey, I need you to go down here to the parking lot with me. I need you to see something." So I'm like, okay, cool. I hop in the shuttle and I head down to the parking lot. And as we rented the parking lot, I can't remember if it's parking lot B or C, but it held 99 cars of the Hollywood Bowl. So it's parking lot B or C of the Hollywood Bowl. And as we turn the corner, I see all these people dressed up, mild mannered. And as they see the shuttle, they just turn into animals and start running towards and really just start running towards the shuttle. And I'm like, oh wow. And then door opens and people are getting on and like knocking me to the side. So because we didn't know we were going to have numbers, we didn't have anyone down there to organize people at the parking lot. And then we didn't have enough shuttles to deal with people. So mind you, so night goes and this one shuttle driver, he's working. He is working because he has all these people to shuttle up by himself. So we get the last people up. Like, I want to say, honestly, it was like 11:57. The last person got their champagne flute right before midnight. The very next day, I received an email. A guy who purchased the package did not make it. He and his party did not make it on the shuttle. And when I looked at it, he purchased a pretty significant package for him, and I think it was him and like a total of 8 people in his package, either 8 or 10. And they didn't make it on the shuttle. And all I could think about at the time was, the women, the plans that they made, the hair and the makeup, the shopping for a dress, the guys getting haircuts, like all I could think about was that, and how there's nothing you can say or do to make up for that. So I hit him back with with the email, and I apologized, told him there was really nothing I could say. I ended up paying him back double what he paid. What I did forget too, before I offered them to come out the next year, and we would comp them. Me and the team had talked about that, comp them on the same package that they had if they wanted to come out, knowing that they probably wouldn't want to come out, but still wanted to offer that just in case they did. And for me, that was probably one of the biggest things, one of the biggest and most impactful in a negative way, things that I've experienced as an event producer. Just knowing that you made someone's New Year's Eve, that's something that's going to be with them for life. Like, they may not dwell on it, but if someone says, "What was your worst New Year's Eve event?" and they're gonna be like, "Oh, that cat's party."
That's a great one. I know that from all your successes and how long you've been doing these events, that you've learned a lot from your experiences, good and bad. And you keep going, and obviously, you're progressing and growing and thriving. I have a question. Since we're about halfway through the program, a little bit of a redirect to a different type of question. It's more about how do you feel house music connects with Black History Month, like your experiences of Black culture
Oh,
and your connections. I mean, this is a question for either one of you or to bounce off each other. Like, just like how does it connect more fully to culture and your, where you come from and your identity.
yo, so here's the thing about this. Here's the thing about the house music community. First of all, it was birthed out of the gay community. Number one, house music as that dance music community was birthed out of the gay community. From what I understand, Black and brown people weren't allowed to frequent or even attend most of the time white discotheques or white discos, and it was just like creating their own space. And then, it was the kind of death of disco where people just started hating disco. And while disco kind of disappeared from the mainstream, it stayed alive underground. So even for me, um, the most amazing thing that I can say about, just house music, unlike a lot of other musics, I've I've literally been in a spot where you had gangsters, um, straight, gay, trans, everyone in this same space partying. Like if there, I don't think hip hop would do that. I don't think jazz could do that. When I say like partying with no one's caring about what other people are or aren't doing. Um, it's just really just coming together just for the music and the love of the music and just vibing to it, which is just really interesting to me. Like I would see people from the hood and, and I'm seeing like everybody, and it blew my mind when I started going to the first. So for me, Don, my first time like really going to house parties was when I was 18 and I was going to Cliff Livingston's Riviera on college night. And it just blew me away because I'm seeing every, like, I didn't know how to react. I'm like, what? Like, it's just everyone in here. And it was so awesome to me that you could just be in this space and there's just no drama, like none.
Right. Yeah, definitely the no drama part. As I shared earlier, I started a little before you party,
Right, right.
eighth grade. But I think what it says about the music is that my parents felt safe for me to be in a space where I'm partying with the music. Like, there back then there was adult music and there was, music that the kids could probably listen to. And
Yeah.
so there wasn't necessarily that separation of music when it came to house music or attending house events. And from my perspective, it spanned ages, spanned generations. So everyone enjoyed it. And so we started at high school. There was a high school in Chicago, Mendel Catholic High School. And so we were just there. I don't know, maybe seventh or eighth grade, I started going there. I don't know if I was supposed to be at the high school at that age, but we were there. And so a lot of the DJs that were spending at that point in time, this became their career. So for me, it was always, I guess, a family friendly genre, and the music, the lyrics, just like disco and soul. That's To me, that's the heart of house, and so the lyrics speak to our history, speak to the struggle, and it's a way of release. Dance is a way of release for me, anyway. But the music just kind of frees your spirit.
That's great. I love your contributions to that question. I know it's a big question. This kind of follows on to some references you made to the nature of when you say, what's interesting to me is the definition, what people think of when you say partying, like in a verb, like I'm partying tonight, or I was partying last night. Now, culturally, we usually assume that means some kind of, you know, drinking or drug use going on with that. But I really like how you guys have this sort of different angle on it from your own experience of how the SoulNic parties and the house music parties you came up from weren't about that. You know, so when you say, I'm going to go to a party tonight, I'm going to go party, you mean something else, which I really love, you know, because it means that it's just more open and freer and it's not about, so it's potentially negative, you know, associations. Could you tell us a little bit about basically what your events are like and kind of expand on just sort of the difference of definition of partying that I alluded to just now?
Yeah.
So,
I'll
so
just say that just plan to dance. I'll say with that. I'll say like 8 hours of dancing. And then I know Chevez has more, but yeah, definitely when I mention partying, it's about dancing
That's great.
nonstop.
yeah, it for us, we take more of a family friendly approach to, especially to, you know, a party like SoulNic. Um, you know, it's family friendly. We have the children there, we have parents, we have grandparents, you know, all races, all ages, all just everyone can be there. And the music is the type of music that anyone can listen to. You know, that's one of the driving forces behind um, keeping it in kind of like a wholesome space. You know, the parting aspect of it, like you were mentioning earlier, which, you know, is usually, you know, the drug usage and, you know, the heavy alcohol. That's also that's been a part of you know, the house music community, or you know, that community as well. But for us personally, that's not a part of our community. You know, we really like to have a space where, especially with SoulNic, where children can come and enjoy it, and you know, they're not out here seeing, you know, things that they don't really need to see. So for us, partying is like Don said, partying is like dancing, interacting with people, networking. Like SoulNic really is a big family reunion with a lot of people who don't know each other. So you'll have people who come early in the morning. They'll bring these huge grills that they'll bring in like a pickup truck, and people will prepare food and provide that food to other people. You know, it is just like a big family reunion.
That is awesome. And I want to go to one of these. I'm excited to hopefully attend one of these in the not too distant future. That kind of brings up to mind a question about, we've obviously for the last couple of years, we've all been living through this pandemic, and it's been hard on us in all kinds of ways. And it continues to be, you know, in our lives. And, you know, we don't know when it's going to be, if it's going to be any, what's the future brings as far as all that goes. How have you been sort of keeping the flame going with SoulNic if you can't necessarily have a lot of like your parties, basically?
So we just announced on Monday that SoulNic will be happening this year on Saturday, June 25th. As of now, yes, you know, SoulNic will be happening. The previous years, the park wasn't even entertaining a conversation about it. This year, they're like, okay. So
That's
it's
great.
so it's as of today, it is a go.
I didn't even know that before I came into the room today. I'm so happy that I asked that
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
But we've been virtual. We've been virtual dancing in our living rooms the past
yeah,
years.
yeah. So we've done it virtually for the last 2 years. But yeah, it definitely getting back in the park this summer. It's going to be amazing.
Get there early.
Right, right, right.
Get there early.
That is wonderful. we haven't had any specific questions in the chat. We've just had a lot of beautiful, beautiful comments about SoulNic and house music in general. People multiple comments about house music bringing people together.
Yeah.
People cannot wait to the next event. SoulNic is beautiful is one of them. It just goes on and on. There's about 10 or 12 comments from the chat. I'm just really glad you guys are out there in the audience enjoying our conversation today. We could, if anyone in the audience has a question to ask our guests, please feel free to put it in the comments at this time. We have about 10 more minutes, and I'd be happy to relay the questions to our guests if you have any particular ones. If not, I'd like to, since people are just sharing lots of love on the comments, I love that. Could you maybe share your experiences, both of y'all, because about like somebody come up to you and say, I want to do something like this. This is my idea. They're like, 20 years old or, 25 at your age back when you started doing all this. Like, basically how that dude from Chicago shared some knowledge with y'all back then. Like, have you had, or what would you tell that person, or maybe you've already had a mentoring situation arise, already, but like how are you like kind of sending the elevator back down to maybe the youngsters who are coming up and want to continue or even do spin off and do their own events? Like, what is your what would you tell that person?
Well, I really did appreciate, and I took it to heart because Wayne actually sat down with me for about 20 to 30 minutes. Like we sat down at a picnic bench, and he was just talking, and I didn't know that was my first time meeting him. And the things that he shared with me, once again I didn't believe it because I'm like, my thought is they were intentional in where they wanted their event to go. I wasn't thinking that they did the same exact thing that we did. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, he's giving me advice. We're not trying to do it the way you did, not realizing like they started the same way, just wanting to do it for their people. So I would do the same thing. I would just tell them. I've had people ask, and I always tell people you have to get your permits and you have to get your insurance. Just the things that they have to do. But even deeper than that, it's really reaching out to the people that you want to come out and support it. You have to build on your following as well. And SoulNic for me, SoulNic for me is my group Extra Mild Sauce. What I like to call the funky 4+1. So Extra Mild Sauce is myself, DeLeon Howard, Derek Wise, and Drac Muse. And then the +1 and +1 times 3 is Rhonda Wagner. So that's my group when it comes down to SoulNic. And then from there, we're talking about our DJs, Tailwind Turner, Nico, KG Superstar holding it down for us, been holding it down for us. Just an amazing voice to like MC the event. So it's just you have to create your community. You have to create your tribe of people that you're going to grow this thing with. And that's really how it worked for us. Just we got together and it just started kind of growing, and we all came together and just decided that we were going to work together.
This is an amazing story. I know how hard it is for these things to lift off the ground, to keep it going, to build all this positivity in LA. I think it's a really positive and strong message to share with our audience and our patrons, especially in these times recently that have been pretty challenging, on a lot of levels, and people have been feeling pretty challenged on the social front, and whether it's safe enough to go out or whether they should go in, and just lots of stress around those issues, and just to have this thing to look forward to coming up and this news that you shared today. It's just amazing, and I'm so happy you guys could come and share some of the story with us and with our patrons. We're about, I'm just going to close out unless you guys if you had any closing comments. I have some really great comments in the chat. Our most recent one is just like, we do have a question from the audience. What do you think is important for folks to know when they're new to house music?
Mm.
That's probably a big question or a small question, depending on how you go about it.
I think it's important for people to know that there are different. First of all, to give it a chance, but then to know that there are subgenres within that genre of music. So under house, you have so many subgenres. You know, you have tech, you have EDM, you have Afro house. So it's just like there's different subgenres of the house music genre. So it's almost like if you want to find what you like, you have to give it a chance. You can't just listen to one and be like, oh, I hate it. Because down the line there may be a subgenre of it that you may like.
That's really great. I hope that at least answered the question to some degree. I know there's a lot to explore out there. I don't know if Chavez ever you guys share your playlists or etc. from your social media. I learn a lot from SoundCloud, and I follow DJs, and I follow a lot of music blogs. And there's so much. What's exciting about music, there's always more to learn.
Yeah.
And I was exposed a bit to Chicago house music when developing this program, and I was really happy to hear that very positive, uplifting, inspiring kind of dance music, which is not always, the thing that you hear a lot, And I'm really glad that there's an opportunity and this community and this place that you guys have created together. And
Just one thing I'll add is
please.
just as you were saying, it's been a very tough 2 years, and the fact that Chavez just announced that they'll be back in action this year. I think it'll be just a great time for community, for release, for people to spend time with family in a safe space. So that's what I look forward to. And so for anyone who's new to the genre, like Chavez says, come out and give it a try, but definitely just enjoy the community aspect of the whole day.
I love that because people have a lot of, there's always cliques and people are worried about like going to a new place where they don't know nobody. But it sounds like y'all are super friendly, and I've seen some of the photos from your events, and it sounds like just like no fear, like just come and enjoy the music.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I guarantee you don't have to know one person there, and you will leave knowing many people.
That is great.
That.
I would tell you that is refreshing because I go out a lot to music, and people are just not always as friendly as you might like them to be, depending on what kind of scene you're in. So I just love that you're doing that. We put up a bunch of links in the chat if you want to follow us on social media, the library events. We put up links for my branch in particular, which is Exposition Park Regional at 39th and Western, about 2 miles west of USC. We put up links for the library as a whole and for SoulNic. If you want to keep up with what we're doing at the library and keep up with SoulNic, social media is a real easy way to do that. We hope to see you in the library, and we hope to see you at SoulNic. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Thanks so much.